friends. It was a super sunny day and Dolly the ladybird sat staring out of the window. I'm going to eat breakfast, she thought, and then I'll go for a walk in the meadow. She decided to take her wheelbarrow with her. I wonder if I'll find something interesting to take home in my wheelbarrow, she thought to herself. Goodness me, said Dolly. What a lovely red cherry. That's just perfect for my lunch. She tried to lift the cherry into her wheelbarrow, but it was far too heavy. Too heavy for one little ladybird. Just then, Berry the snail appeared. Why the sad face, ladybird? Asked Berry. I can't lift this cherry into my wheelbarrow, Dolly replied. Don't cry, I'll help you, Berry said with a smile. And the two of them picked the cherry up with no trouble at all. Dolly set straight off home with the juicy cherry. Now it was Berry who looked sad. Don't you want to share the cherry with me? The snail said, and stamped his little foot. I did help you. But I found it first, Dolly snapped. You're not having any, it's mine. Berry was very upset. The two of them started to fight over the cherry. It's mine, shouted Dolly. That's not fair, Berry shouted back. They pushed and pulled the cherry until it split in two. Berry and Dolly plopped to the ground. They were very surprised when a green grub crawled out of the cherry.
What have you done to my cherry?
He grumbled.
That cherry was my home. Oh, don't look so upset,
the grub said.
I know where we can find plenty more. You can eat cherries while I find a new home for myself.
Dolly helped the grub into her wheelbarrow, and they all set off to look for the cherry tree. When they arrived, they found the ground around the cherry tree was covered in ripe red fruit. Berry and Dolly jumped for joy. The grub fell fast asleep while Berry and Dolly munched away on fresh cherries, and the time soon flew by. It was getting late, so they decided to go home, but this time with 2 cherries. One for Dolly and one for Berry. The sun was setting by the time they reached Berry's house. They took his cherry out of the wheelbarrow and said goodbye. Berry went inside and waved to Dolly from the window. Berry soon fell fast asleep after such an exciting day. The little snail dreamt about playing in cherries with Dolly and eating until their tummies were full. Then Dolly got back home and went straight to bed. From that day on, Berry and Dolly were the best of friends. Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today? Sea adventure. One summer day, Berry the snail and Dolly the ladybird found a colourful storybook. It was packed with pretty pictures of the sea swimming with fish and crabs. And there was another strange animal that Berry had never seen. It's called an octopus, but I've never seen a real one either.
Why don't we go to the sea?
Berry asked excitedly. But we don't know where the sea is, Berry.
I know, let's ask Dr. Owl. He knows everything. Do you know how to get to the sea, Dr. Owl?
You need to build a boat and sail down the stream. The stream will take you to the river, and the river flows right into the sea.
Berry and Dolly thanked Dr. Owl for his advice and got to work right away. The 3 owl chicks happily helped them build their boat. The 2 friends jumped in, and the stream carried them all the way to the sea.
Hooray! We're going to see the sea.
The wind blew their boat down the stream and then the river. It wasn't long before the vast blue sea was right in front of them.
We're here!
Yelled Berry. He pulled the boat to the shore and tied it to a palm tree.
Come on, Dolly. Let's dive to the bottom of the sea.
The 2 friends saw all kinds of incredible creatures under the sea. They spotted a big crab and followed it to the surface. Excuse me, can you tell us where we can find a real octopus? Asked Dolly.
Hold on to my pincers, and I'll show you the little island where the octopus likes to sunbathe.
The crab helped them to the island and swam away. The octopus was much bigger than they'd imagined, and it frightened them. Berry and Dolly hid behind a big rock. Then the octopus had a good idea. It picked up some pebbles and started to juggle them with its 8 tentacles. The little ladybird and the snail crept out from behind the rock.
Come over here,
The octopus said.
I'll show you the prettiest pebbles on my island.
Berry and Dolly quickly made friends with the octopus, and they all had so much fun. It's time for us to go, said Dolly. Goodbye. It was very nice to meet you.
Bye-bye,
replied the octopus, and gave them both a shiny pebble each. Berry and Dolly got into the boat and tried to paddle away, but it was too hard. Oh dear, Berry, we won't be able to manage. We'll have to get out of the boat. Dolly was really scared. See, Berry, I told you we shouldn't have sailed so far from home.
I think you're right, Dolly.
But then the stone started to move.
Why are you so sad, little snail?
The stone asked. This made Berry laugh. It wasn't a stone after all. It was a turtle.
My friends, the rainbow fish, are about to begin their long journey. They'll swim up the stream all the way to the source. I'm sure they'd be happy to take you with them.
Berry and Dolly said goodbye to the turtle and sat on the back of the captain fish. Then they all set off on their way home. By the time it was getting dark, the fish had reached the clearing where the ladybird's spotty house stood. Berry and Dolly thanked the fish for their help, and they swam away.
See, Dolly? All's well that ends well,
the little snail said wisely.
Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
The Sandcastle. On a sunny summer day, Berry, Dolly, Bubble and Balthazar put on their swimming costumes, grabbed their buckets and spades, and set out for Sand Island to build castles.
Look at this huge watermelon,
Balthazar said in surprise.
Oh, let's take it with us. Then we can all have a feast at the end of the day.
Okay, Berry, we'll take it. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar and Bubble carefully rolled the watermelon in front of them. But when the friends got to the top of the hill, the round watermelon started to roll away down the slope. "Stop it!" Dolly shouted to the others. Bubble pounced on the watermelon, but he couldn't stop it. The baby beetle slipped off and bumped his head. The juicy watermelon just carried on rolling. They all ran after it as fast as they could, but the watermelon was much faster than all of them. Then a terrible thing happened. The watermelon got to the bottom of the hill and smashed into a sharp rock. Our lovely watermelon smashed into pieces.
Oh, the watermelon!
Balthazar was very sad too.
Why are you all complaining? Let's eat it instead.
The baby beetle suggested. So the four friends sat down and started to munch on the watermelon. They ate the sweet red fruit until their tummies were full. We'd better hurry to Sand Island, or there'll be no time left to build sandcastles.
Dolly, wait for me. I'll fly with you.
Balthazar said.
Me too,
Bubble added.
But I can't fly. Are you three going to leave me here?
Berry asked with a sad sob.
Let's build boats out of the watermelon rind. This way Berry can sail to the island with us,
Balthazar suggested. They selected 4 strong pieces of melon rind. 1 for Dolly, 1 for Berry, 1 for Balthazar, and 1 for Bubble. They made the masts out of strong branches and the sails out of large leaves. When they were done, they launched the little boats on the water, and the wind quickly carried them away to Sand Island. "Hooray! We're sailing!" Berry said with an excited squeak. They all got to Sand Island with plenty of time left to play.
Look, someone's coming, and he's got a bucket in his hand.
Indeed, there was a cheerful beetle walking towards them on the sandy shore.
Who are you?
Dolly asked.
I'm Sean, the sand beetle. I live here and was about to build a sandcastle.
Really?
Balthazar asked.
Can we join you?
Of course you can. Let's all build together,
Sean said with joy. The 5 of them built a grand sandcastle with all kinds of tunnels, towers and bridges.
Now all it needs is a flag on top,
Dolly said. So she drew a picture of Sean on a leaf and stuck it in the very top of the castle.
That looks super! Does that mean it's my sandcastle now?
Sean said enthusiastically. When the sun went in, Dolly and her friends said goodbye to Sean and headed home.
Good night, King of the Castle!
Dolly shouted, waving goodbye to their new friend.
Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
The football match. One morning, Stanley was woken by the sound of someone knocking on his door. Stanley, it's me, Frank. The little stag beetle crawled out of his bed and saw Frank the longhorn beetle. Hello there, Frank. It's super to see you, Stanley said, and the old pals hugged. I brought this for you. A football, hooray! We'll need teams to play a proper game, Frank reminded him. Then we'll tell the others to come and we'll have proper teams, the stag beetle suggested. The 2 boys called on all the others to come and play football with them. They visited every house, and by the time they had reached the edge of the forest, they had 2 teams. Alfonso agreed to be the referee.
We should sew them football shirts,
Rosita suggested.
One team can play in blue and one team can play in red. The footballers spent the whole week training.
We sewed these for you,
Zephyr told them, and she handed the red and blue shirts to Stanley.
Thank you.
The two teams said together, and they slipped on their new football shirts. Dolly and Rosita set benches up, and the spectators all sat at the side of the pitch. Alfonso blew his referee's whistle, and the match began.
That's it. Run, Bubble.
Stanley yelled.
Here, pass it to me.
Bubble shouted.
Hooray!
The blue team cheered as they all embraced.
Come on, Reds! Come on, Blues!
The crowd cheered.
That's not fair, Frank. You can't touch the ball with your hand.
The b-boy complained.
Balthazar's right. Don't do it again, Frank. It's against the rules.
The referee said. The match got very exciting. The Blues were leading 3-2 when the game stopped again.
Frank tripped me up.
Bubble complained.
Yes, I saw that too, Alfonso agreed. I'll have to send you off if you break the rules again, Frank.
Stanley's team looked set to win. Frank started to get crosser and crosser.
I'm going to score a goal now.
He shouted, and he pushed Berry so hard that they ended up falling over, and Frank shouted out in pain.
Ouch! My arm!
The others all ran over.
I'll run and fetch Dr. Owl,
Zephyr announced.
If you hadn't hurt yourself so badly, I'd send you off,
Alfonso said.
Yes, I know,
Frank said sadly.
but my hand really hurts.
Dr. Owl was soon at the scene.
Well, you've broken your arm. I'll have to put it in plaster, and you'll have to keep it on for 4 weeks. You'll need to look after it and no running around.
The blue team won the football match. We'll have to wait a while before we can play again, Stanley said, and he patted Frank on the back.
Don't be sad. You'll soon be as fit as a fiddle again.
I'm sorry that I broke the rules,
Frank sniffed.
I promise to play fairly when my arm has mended, and we can have another good game of football. I think we should all decorate Frank's plaster cast,
Dolly said with a grin.
Let's go back to my house for a snack.
The big crowd of friends all piled into Dolly's spotty house. They got her crayons out and drew all kinds of funny things on the longhorn beetle's plaster.
I'm going to keep it as a souvenir after Dr. Owl takes it off,
Frank told them all. Then all the friends sat around the table and ate every last piece of the delicious sponge roll.
Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today?
The big spider. Berry, Dolly, Flutter and Balthazar were gathering colourful leaves in the woods when they heard someone crying.
Can you hear something, Berry?
Dolly asked.
Yes, it's coming from the cave.
The friends were frightened, but went deeper and deeper into the dark cave. Then they saw where the noise was coming from. A baby beetle sat crying.
Oh dear, what's wrong, baby beetle? Why are you crying? I got lost in this dark cave and I can't find my way out. How am I going to get back to my little house?
What's your name? Berry asked.
Bubble. Come on, don't be sad, Bubble. We'll show you the way to your house,
Dolly said and hugged the baby beetle. Suddenly, they heard a scary sound from deep inside the cave. They hugged each other. All of a sudden, a big angry spider appeared and shouted at them.
Who woke me up? What are you doing in my cave?
everybody!
Balthazar yelled, and they all ran.
Let's hide here,
Dolly said, and they all hid behind a rock. Luckily, the spider didn't spot them. But then Bubble started crying, and the spider found their hiding place. Berry, Dolly, Bubble, Balthazar and Flutter ran as fast as they could. But oh dear, Balthazar tumbled over a stone, and the big spider caught up with them. Berry grabbed a spiky twig and bravely defended his friends.
Go away, you ugly spider!
Berry diverted the big spider's attention, while Flutter and Balthazar ran around it with a length of thread. Dolly looked after little Bubble and kept him safe.
We've got you now!
Balthazar shouted triumphantly. The spider tried to get out of the tangle, but it couldn't. And then it started to cry.
I didn't want to hurt you. I've never hurt anybody before. I was just mad because you woke me up. Please let me go. I'll show you the way out of the cave.
Do you promise you really won't hurt us? Berry asked.
Yes, I promise. Climb on my back and I'll carry you out.
They all sat on the spider's back and were soon outside again.
It's time for us to say goodbye.
Please come and see me again.
Thank you for your help, Spider,
Flutter said. Bubble had fallen asleep in the ladybird's arms.
What should we do with him?
Puzzled Dolly. Let's build a pram, Berry suggested, and they got to work immediately. They made him a pram out of a horse chestnut shell with wheels out of little logs.
But where does he live? I know,
Flutter said. The baby beetle didn't wake up until they reached his house.
Oh, my little house. Have you brought me home? Thank you so much.
Good night, little Bubble.
Sleep tight and don't go into that cave all by yourself again because you'll get lost,
Berry and Dolly said. Then they gave Bubble a hug.